It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by Miniprints.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of Miniprint.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, what time it is?
It's train time. Episode
34.
34.
Season 3.
Season 3, yes.
And today, what do we have?
Well, we've got part 2 of Peter Hess's steel mill.
Yeah, the Toledo terminal line.
Yeah.
Which has been very well received.
The first part was, yes. Yeah, it was very good.
Peter was very satisfied too.
Yes, yes.
So, which is great. Then, well, we got the photo of the month.
Photo of the month. View from above.
Yes, and a short critiques or
Miniprints review.
Miniprints review.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be talking about some of the rocks that we have been working on.
Yep. Yep.
And add on some pictures of the CMR.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah. We've been
that would be a
picking away at it. Our track gang has done finished the upgrade on the main 2 grade.
Yes.
And we've been doing some ballasting and
yeah,
slowly but surely. Yes.
The homemade portals and all of
that. Yes, you made some scratch built portals.
Yeah.
And,
so anyway, we'll have that on the second part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the viewers, to come in and see our show. And now, without any delay, let's go see part 2 of the Toledo terminal line of Peter Hess.
Peter Hess. Enjoy.
Hello again, my name is Peter Hess. Welcome to the second video of the layout named Toledo Terminal Lines. As we are here before the Malay 2029 consists of 20 anthracite and bituminous coal cars before the steelmaking operations of the Toledo terminal lines. Last video you saw an overview of my O-gauge layout set in 1935 Toledo, Ohio. We saw the details of the iron making facility. First of all, before we get on, I want to give a shout out to Neville and Don who inspired me to produce these videos. Now, a brief recap. My layout features Toledo, Ohio in 1935. This is the post-Prohibition era, still caught in the grips of the mighty Depression. Toledo has a very heavy industrial base, but is struggling to remain viable during the Depression. This video will cover the steel making operations of the layout. I really enjoyed making this section of the layout because I was able to use the class I took in 1967 at the University of Toledo College of Engineering. That class was called Process Design, and we designed how to make these models. As you can see, I really like that course and the information stuck. I will show you today the 4 steelmaking operations in this 1935 layout. They are the open hearth shop, the rolling mill, the Bessemer converter operation, and the #1 press shop. My steelmaking operations are not integrated with the iron making facility as shown in the first video. That means the iron is transported by rail to this operation. The steelmaking operations are in a space of about 30 feet length and 5 feet deep. The steelmaking space is on the second tier at about a 42 inches level from the floor, with transformers and a return line hidden below. And above is a return track some 18 inches above the floor of the steelmaking shop. As you can see, most of the return track is not visible if you're looking at the buildings. There are two entryways into the mill. The first is about 10 feet from the open hearth shop going in, and the second is in the center of the steelmaking operation. Hot iron is transported from the blast furnace at the Toledo Furnace Company to the steelmaking operations, which I call Interlake Iron and Steel. I like that name. No reference to what is in Toledo. This is an old mill. It is a combination Bessemer and basic open hearth steelmaking. Some of the hot iron is converted into low-cost steel at the H&N converter, with most of the iron made into good high-priced steel at the open hearths. Sort of confusing? Well, really it isn't. Let me show you how it all works. You know, there may be a test after this video, so you better take notes. Let's start with the open hearth shop. Okay, let me tell you straight on that I love open hearth complexes. That's why this facility is in the front of the entry door. It's hit you in the face with big buildings, lights, details, knock you off structure. Just right in the front door, and you have the open hearth shop. Modelers, here's a little tip. Put your best work in front of your layout, right up front. Show off your best work. Don't hide your best work in the back of your layout. This 6-bay shop with 4 furnaces is double tracked. The shop is 6 feet long, which is about a scale 288 feet, and it is about 2 feet in width. This is a small but reasonable sized shop that is designed to take all the hot iron from the Toledo Furnace Company. I have a crude scrapyard set up in front of the mill, and also a ladle and ingot preparation facility. At the entryway of the mill, I have a cute little repair shop that is highly detailed. It sort of mixes up and fills a void in the space before the open hearth shop. Modelers, it's impossible to show the complete operation of an open hearth shop because of its size. It's really of its depth. That's why I chose to show the tapping side of the operation rather than the charging side. However, I wanted people to get a sense of what the charging side looked like, so what I have installed is mirrors where there would be windows in the back of the building in order to show the glimpse of the charging side of the basic open hearth steelmaking operation. Again, this is called forced perspective. There are 4 furnaces in this open hearth facility in a 6-bay shop. The reason why I chose 4 is there are 4 operations of steelmaking in the basic oxygen, or in the basic open hearth shop. The first stage is scrap charging. Here you can see the scratch-made scrap charging machine, the scrap buggies with its scrap buckets that come from up front in the scrap yard. The second part is the introduction of hot metal into the open hearth. Here you have a hot metal ladle full of hot iron being dumped into the open hearth. Notice that the crane operator may have spent too much time at Jimmy Schmidt's bar across the street and is a little tipsy because that ladle is a little bit askew. The hot metal is represented by a 9-volt LED light in the ladle bucket. Notice the open hearths. What you have there is all the piping for the coke oven gas being blown into the open hearth to heat the metal to 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. The first open hearth, scrap charging. The second one, hot metal. Third one is melting, and the fourth is tapping. The flashing is caused by heat-activated incandescent red bulbs inside of each open hearth, and which allows the representation of the firing off of the coke oven gas to raise the temperature up to 2,800, 3,000 degrees. The last operation, or the last of the open hearths, is the tapping operation. Here you have the scratch-built 200-ton crane holding the ladle of hot steel, and down below you'll have the slag pot partially full of slag. Note that slag and steel are different colors, but that said, both of the ladle and the slag pot is covered 12-volt LED light with clear plastic on top that has been sanded and then painted with acrylic paints to represent steel. You'll see the ingot buggies here. They are scratch made. They're not as good as Neville's. I want to learn how he makes his buggies to be operational. Well, I'll need to do that at a later time. I always run my LED and incandescent lights at 3/4 of the power that is designed because I want the lights to last longer. Now transitioning from the open hearth shop to the rolling mill. In between, you'll see a little tunnel. It shows behind it some coke oven batteries. Every mill has to have a coke oven battery. I did not construct one, or I have not constructed one to date, but this coke oven battery represents the facilities. In between, you'll see lines of coke oven gas coming from whatever would be the coke oven battery to the open hearth to provide heat and fuel for burning the open hearths. Little repair facilities in between, add some detail. I could have filled this up with something, but I didn't. You will notice that the open hearth and the rolling mills are not 90 degrees to the viewer. I do that on purpose. I do not want to have people looking square into any of my facilities. You notice there's 2 lines going from the open hearth into the rolling mill. One from the tapping line That goes into the stripper aisle. Stripper that removes the steel ingots from the molds. The second one from the main entrance, central entranceway into the rolling mill. Now looking down the rolling mill, again, we're talking about forced perspectives. You will see in the very far back a reheat furnace that's flashing. That reheat furnace is all lined inside with mirrors, lighted by LED lights, and the flashing is again a heat activated light sensor incandescent bulb. You will see this line of ingots ready to come in and or out of the reheat furnace. They're a separate color from ingots that are ready to go into the rolling mill. Again, I'm looking at forced perspective, forcing the viewer to look at the operations as I want them to look at, so they have a good side view of everything and being able to look at something in a more realistic fashion. The middle area was once a blooming mill, which will be in the future probably a quench tank, which will be animated. Let's go take a look at the rolling mill. Here we have a good animation. You see the 48-inch strip steel. It's going to be rolled down to 1.5 inches. Be used as armor plates. There's a Fowler motor inside that is running the pushing and pulling the strip. The strip is plastic, clear plastic that has been sanded and has been painted numerous times. Note the different paints that I used that represents scale on a reel that would be seen on a real piece of metal if it was being rolled. In the back here we have the Bessemer converter house. This is sort of the orphan children because it's sort of hidden by both the #1 press shop and the rolling mill. Again, the Bessemer converter, as you can see, is lighted inside. The mixer is no longer turning and burned out, and most of the lights inside the Bessemer shop have burned out. So this facility is on its last legs, as I will say. Now let's turn to the award-winning #1 press shop. I use award-winning because it won the People's Choice Award at the 2010 or 11 NLMRA convention in Sacramento, California. People's Choice Award. As you can see, what we have is we have an aisle going, a stub track going down. In the front, we have consists of a 12,000 ton press. This mill is designed after the #1 press shop at the Carnegie Steel operation in Homestead, New York. Except for the spacing of the operations, all of the piping is exact and true to the design drawings I received from the Library of Congress. You probably could hear this operation has sound to it. Fantasonics engineering sound by Jim Wells. It's continuous loop, 2.5 industries. It runs for about an hour before it repeats. This is the press that would press large ingots into the flat or armor steel plate, whatever was necessary. The second operation is the hydraulic accumulator, which stores energy. And as the heavy weights go down, it pushes and compresses the ram in the press. Both of those operations are run by Fowler motors. The compressed water is provided by a 6,000 horsepower steam engine. The steam powers 8 pumps that compress the water to push up the operations at the hydraulic accumulator. Here I have a 60 RPM AC motor that has been geared down to the appropriate speed, I think, to make everything fine. There are 3 speakers inside of the building. The windows are used as real glass because I want to have a tambourine effect for the 3 speakers hitting the side of the building, which is metal, corrugated, or the steel. I use indirect sound for that. In the back, you'll see the reheat furnaces. I will show those again. Now I have a space right here that is unused. And I want to ask you, viewers of this video, to tell me what they think it should be used for this space. Well, that's all for now. It's been a long video. I hope you liked it. We'll see you again for the next video, which will probably be the red lights area of Toledo and some of the bridges. For now, goodbye from the steelmaking operations, Interlake Iron and Steel, at the Toledo Terminal Lines Layout, circa 1935, Toledo, Ohio. Bye.
Another good segment from Peter.
That guy is an artist,
Yes.
by all means. I certainly look his way of looking at that layout, I think, has been very much so on the engineering side.
Yes. Yep.
But
Yep.
the animation that he create, and the realist view of what steel mill is all about
Yep.
is really commendable. So the part 3 that will come in next month
Yep.
is mainly where he's got his town and with all the animation in there, which is also a very good part.
Yep.
So I hope you come in and watch part 3 next month, because it's worth it.
Yep.
That's a layout definitely that had to be featured. It is not being talked about that much, but people are talking about all those big layout, that you see in magazine and so on. But when you look at layout like Peter, they are as good, if not better.
I think in a lot of cases they're better. And the thing too is that he's done it in O gauge.
Yes, which is not a small feat, because to have something realistic with the O gauge, you got to have a lot of patience, and you have to have a lot of imaginations to make it realistic, like he did. So, Peter, don't quit the good work. Welcome to Miniprint Review at www.miniprint.com. Bernard have with OVR and Rapido made a set of policemen and robbers that which we see in here is the cars from Rapidos, the cops and the robbers in there. Now for our purpose on our layout, I painted the RCMP officer, the officer as the RCMP, and the RCMP car, so you can see what you can do with the scene. Right beside, you can see in here a tent with the guitar players and the banjo players sitting in the chair, which is pretty good. Right beside it here you see the two newspaper box and a telephone box that you see more and more rarely now on our street because it changed. On this part here is a bench with two old couples feeding pigeon. Now the pigeon's still on their sprue in here. They are very small, and I would take them out of there just to put them on the scene that we will be building. Now if we look here is the crew change from Miniprints. They are all painted and they will be put somewhere in the yards. They are a very nice little set, you know, and very credible as far as the positions and what they carry and so on and so on. Beside we see a water container here, an empty roll of cables that you can put on the load or beside the buildings. We see two mailbox here. Is a set of 4 coming in. I painted these two because it's easier to stand in there and so on, but they are pretty darn good. So in here we see the ice cream vendor with the little kids that ordering himself some ice creams. It's a very delicate little models to paint. It's very fragile, so like most of the mini print figures, you have to be very careful on the way that you paint them. Now here I do have the water trough that Bernard made, and I put the 2 donkeys right now in there. The water trough is models with a lot of details, and it's very well made. Now in that corner here you can see videographers, a guy with the binoculars, and this one is checking his camera. The air observer you can put on bridges or beside tracks or so on, rail fanning. Beside it is an old grocery carts and 2 garbage bags. So you can use that in the front of a store, the carts, or you can use it for a homeless camp and so on. The garbage bag, well, can go about anywhere. They are very well done. So also there's a lot of new stuff that has come into the web page of Miniprints, which is www.miniprint.com. I encourage you to go and look at it and make your layout come alive with all these nice little figures, you know. And believe you me, they are done very well, and if you take the time to paint them and put them on your layout, you won't regret it. So till next time, till the next review of the next products, I'm adding on some pictures of new stuff that is on his website, and have a great modeling. had on, Peter, a few pictures, well, it's 3 of them really, of a car hauler.
Oh, right, yes.
I was so scared of breaking that kit in the cupboard upstairs that I said, well, I might as well assemble it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I didn't have the truck that should be there, so I kind of changed the
A
truck.
little bit of kit bashing.
Yeah, I had to add on a second axle on it, and because it's a 10-wheeler, I had to paint the cabs, put a driver in,
Mm-hmm.
and modify the fuel tanks on the side, and all that type of little tweaking. And then after that, I had on 8 cars,
8 cars.
all brand new cars. You know, the trailer and the truck, they kind of look old paint-wise,
Mhm.
but that's is on purpose. And it's all Porsche and BMW coming to Canada. So, anyway, so that's is
Yeah,
what
looks,
we got there.
it looks very good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
It-
Turned out good.
on a layout, something like that it became a kind of a attractions for the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
We also did some work on rocks.
Oh yes, we've been rock and rolling.
Yes.
You did the area where the hydro power plant is.
Well, it's not finished, really.
No, but you were doing some rock facing there, and I've been working over at Burton Falls where the bridges are, trying to get all the bridge piers solid in plaster so they don't move anymore, and
Anchor in the rocks.
so they're,
Matter of fact, it looked good.
yeah, no, it's coming along very well. Yeah,
And now we have both end of the bridge, of the trestle bridge at Burton Falls,
solid.
solid.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So,
Which was a problem because the slightest little bump and the bridge would shift, and then we had track problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now our track gang is, I think they've remedied all the problem areas. They redid the grade on Main 2 from
Yes.
from Alberta into the Rockies, and that grade seems to be,
well, to me,
Very
it
good,
looked good.
yeah,
You know?
they did a good job on it, and of course ballasting and all that is ongoing.
But at the same time, when you look at that grade you're talking about, the new grade that is there will highly complement the scenery we want to do there.
Yeah, once we get into the
You know,
scenery,
because
yeah.
you're not totally on a flat basis
Yep.
and so on. So there's a lot of little things that can be done in there.
It was just a little too steep for some of the locomotives. Tony's older Elcos were having trouble getting up to grade. So
Yeah, but they're only 3,000 horsepower.
we're all fixed now, and they seem to handle it. So we're good.
Yeah, on the where's the BC Hydro, is 2 new portals that been made there.
Yes, yeah, you handmade them.
Yeah, so that they can
Scratch
fit the purpose, because most of our portals have to be scratch built.
Yeah,
Because the portals that is on the market just don't fit.
Yep.
And our idea is not to fit the railroad to the portal.
Yeah.
Is the portal's got to fit or scenery or real estate.
Yep.
And there's many other places that on that section that we got the basic of the Rockies done. Now, I started to do some strata.
Mm-hmm.
We put some rock face, but in between the rock face, the Rockies got a lot of different stratas that's got to be there. And the paint, when we paint that, will highly influence the view of what the Rocky look like, right? So that corner where the BC Hydro is, I got some pictures that I took that you can look at. There's a lot of things happening on that little areas. In the front, what is open in between the BC Hydros and where the mountain started again, it would be a part mountain in there with an archway in there where is a road for the maintenance of ways. And on the top of that is a track going in there with the locomotives and a coal car.
Coal cars going into the
to the basic plant.
Yeah.
So there you have technically a view from above when you look at it, when the train coming out, from the portals. And it's very short, and then it gets into a long tunnels. And on the other side, we're starting with the, on the main one, mainly concrete snow shed.
Yep.
And on the forestry areas and some of the main two would be wooden.
The old timber.
Yes, the old timber one.
But going back to the power plant area there, the other thing that is, you said it's very busy. We also have this siding that goes off into the helix that goes up onto the line. So that's all in that short little piece between.
It's about 1.5 feet long.
Yeah.
And it's a busy 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
Right? But with the strata that we put in there, so from the BC hydro plants, we're moving towards the Coquihalla.
Right.
And at the Coquihalla, we got to have that famous snow shed at the summit.
Yeah.
Where's the bears on it and so on, which would be a feast to model. And then modeling all the rocks in there in such a way that we can position that accident scene with those tow truck from Jamie Davis.
Yep.
So doing the strata on those mountains is a very slow process. And I tell you, by the time I finished what I just did there, my back was sore.
Yeah.
So, and I said, well, we got a few months of doing that. Because it's not something, it's finishing touch.
Yep.
And I think that's where you can do as much rough scenery as you can. That is fine. That goes real quick.
That's, much faster,
We can do 20 feet of rough sceneries in no time. But when we started to do the finishing onto them, it's a foot square at the time, and depending how complex you want it, it could be taking 2-3 hours or more. There's no end to it.
Oh, God, yeah.
It just depends how meticulous you want to be with it.
And we no sooner start working on a section like that we're already 3 and 4 feet down the peninsula of the Rockies, trying to plan out other snow sheds and tunnels, and how we're going to tie the upper level to the lower level. And
rough scenery is just that, rough, and from the rough scenery, it gives you the idea how you modify it to give you the look you want to have, because, and taking pictures, because the pictures tell you what is right and what is wrong. That's the funny part of it. Our eyes do not necessarily tell us what is right and what is wrong, but the picture does.
And too, you and I especially have spent a lot of time discussing all the different parts, so that we tend to think similarly, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you still find that if you don't talk about the different sections, I might be thinking something different than what you are. So we have these little discussions as we go along, just to kind of keep on, so that we stay on the same track together.
Yeah, but Peter, is the final product of it, okay, turn out good all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to have that exchange of minds. If you want at that point to have something that is good. Right? I said it before, I said it again. There's always more idea in 2 or 3 and 4 heads than only one. But you can view things way better if you have more set of eyes than just yours.
Oh, definitely, right? And we've got 4 sets of eyes, so.
That's right, because one of the guys would come in and say, why are you doing this? Why don't you do this? Makes sense. Let's try it. The worst that can happen, you take it out and you restart it.
And like Tony, out of the four of us, Tony is the only one that's worked in the Rockies on the railroad.
Yes, he
for
was in the Cascade Division.
Yeah, so he's given us some insights into, that section anyway of the Rockies and...
Oh, absolutely. Now, definitely from the time you work on there till now, a few things has changed because the era that you work on, it coming pretty close to the era that we model. So that helped. Now, also is in addition that being put into the forestry right now that is really not finished, but we got the shed.
The engine shed for the Shea locomotive, yeah.
And now we're waiting for the shake, to put on.
The cedar shakes for the roof, yeah. Because that was, you scratch built that.
Yes. There's no plan in there, no nothing, I went in there, look at the track, move the track a little bit, and it's 2-inch there, 9-inch there. Bingo, get on the bench and do it.
Once we get the shakes on it, we'll have to put some photos out.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a nice part of that, because that track in question, where's the Shea, and with the shed, inside the shed, but behind that is where is that portal that everything being blasted in that goes there.
Yeah.
So
it's all caved in and
Yeah. Well, you see, if we go back to what was said in some magazine way back, as far as added element on a layout, right? That's an example of this, because that shed there for that locomotives, would be nice, but you don't want it to be the thing that just got your eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So now, having that portal there, that being blast, and so on, and the other artifacts that go around plus the trees, now create elements on elements.
Yep.
So the added elements on scenery layout is very important. Now, people will say, okay, I got wood, I got grass, I got a few fence and a few trees, I got a few people, I got all my element. Not necessarily, right? Because you might need some other things in there.
Just to fill out the detail, yeah.
Well, also to distract the view. So you don't focus on one specific thing. You're starting to focus on quite a few different elements on your layout. And now suddenly that scene start to talk to you. And when you place those mini figures, those little people, so those little animals in there, now you can place them in an interactive situation. Now they are the one who tell you the story of the scene.
You start building more detail into the scene.
Exactly. Now the mountain itself is a series of steps on it that for some modelers, it will not take an eternity because the layout might not be as big, right? But it's time consuming. But it's a methods that work kind of good in some ways. The finishing of it is where you have the applications, where you have to be patient, where you don't want to rush it.
No.
And then definitely would be the color.
And even with the rough scenery, we've been talking about areas where we want to have trees. So now, as we build on that rough scenery, we want to build in, say, ledges where trees can be planted and look natural type of thing. So it's that.
So is the logging road.
Yes.
Where they appear, they disappear, they appear, they disappear, how they get to the camp and so on. And we talk about the Five Sisters fall.
Yeah.
Well, I think what will happen with the Five Sisters, and I think it's a trick I want to pass on to you guys, is we make the rough shape of the fall. And behind it, after you did the painting and you seal it, you start to use some of the water, realistic water, then you brush it on behind. And then you use fine steel wires. And you put that fine wires in there and you glue it. And after that is there, you use the same thing you use inside of the pillows. And you tease it, you know, and start to put it in. And where in the top of the fall, well, it's a little bit more moving and that type of thing, and then the bottom, and you put them. So what happened is your fall doesn't look like just one stretch. It kind of looked to have dimension on it. And then you start to put the realistic water on it. And with the realistic waters, there's a little bit of colors that goes with not much. And then you finish it where you got some of the white coming in. And the same material that you use to do that fall on those fine wires, on the bottom, you tease it enough that it give you an overspray.
Yes.
But not much, just enough, you know. And the balance of it keep on going. Now, in the 5 instance there at Burton Falls, they will all be somewhat different. You know, but all come in to the main areas.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So you can use that system on many different type of falls. You know. So the 5 sister falls, which isn't the Rockies, but you have to take a train to see them. You cannot get to them other ways. For us, it's called the Burton Falls. It would be a very scenic areas to look at. And there again, you got elements on elements on elements on elements. You know. So we will show you where we're at. Well, you will have an idea because we'll show you part of the bridge where it's at now. Pictures are there, but we'll show you as we develop now those mountain behind and those road and how it's built, you know, as we build it. And we'll keep adding on this segment, you know, on the last segment of the show, those pictures and the building of the Burton Falls.
Right.
So that will give you an idea how to build your mountain, how to do your falls and so on, how to add on your bridge into it. And that too is by using a lot of material that do not come
from hobby stores.
Right. So
it's the same thing with doing falls with silicone. Same idea. Again, silicone is from your hardware store, not from your hobby store.
Absolutely. And anytime you play with water to create water, you do need that silicone at one point or another to seal things, you know. It's not always evident, but it's there. So
we use the silicone method over on Cassette Gorge.
Yes.
And at Jackass Cove there.
We did use the silicone on both instances.
Jackass Creek.
We use silicone on both instances. Another place that silicone will be used, but in a different manner, is at Jean Cove when we do the ocean.
Yes.
So the rough ocean coming into a calm and so on. Then we got to use the silicone to create those waves that are there. So, but whatever, is one baby step at a time.
Yes.
When the layout is big and you work on it, you work all over the place, and sometimes your schedules get a little bit disturbed. So, but the bad weather is coming in. We're in the fall.
We're approaching winter.
So that's mean more hours with the layout and more modeling and so on. And hoping you folks have a great time modeling. And we hope that we bring you a few ideas and that it serves you. If you have done something from what we have talked about, send us pictures.
Yes.
You know?
And we'll start adding pictures to to our show so that you can see what's happening here.
Exactly. A little bit at the time because we don't overburden you on that. At the same time, if somebody have a layout that they did like to be featured, send us the raw footage of that layout. You can narrate it, and we'll do the rest. So,
and send us your comments.
Yes, very important. Sign the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Because a lot of people will like to enjoy to see the show.
I think our floor director is trying to tell us time's up.
Yes. So till
next time,
episode 35.
Happy modeling.
Happy modeling.